This is ABC7. Nearly half of Democrats say fines and prison time appropriate for questioning vaccines, just questioning them. They also said there's, I believe, 45% would intern the unvaccinated, meaning they would take you to a designated isolated facility. I think 59% were in favor of house arrest. So when you see the alignment of the New York Times, when you see the media, when you see that there are this many people in this country who are willing to outright just arrest someone for speaking out against them, it kind of sounds like it's beyond just the media. There's something deeply rotten expanding or growing within the core of the American psyche.
It's a core value. It's the primary value of American society, which are part of the American founding. I mean, this goes back to, Cicero. You have to have information to make informed decisions. And that's why the First Amendment's first. It's a cliche. I question whether half of Democrats actually believe that. I think that's probably, I'm skeptical about the amount of people the media is telling you actually believe that.
What was the actual question on the poll?
I suppose that would be a good one to pull up.
We could definitely look that up. But I think the scarier aspect here is that a lot of these things that some of these Democrats are calling for are policies that are implemented already in other parts of the world, and Democrats and other establishment statists want to implement here in the United States. 29%, according to this Rasmussen poll, of Democrats supported taking children away from people if they refused to take the vaccine. That's a policy that has already been instituted in some places in Canada. When we're talking about detaining people, that's happening in Austria and Australia and in other parts around the world already. So we have to understand that this slippery slope to dystopian, total totalitarian nightmare crap hole society is very close to happening because of this kind of echo chamber delusional thinking that's being perversed by the corporate media.
So what I see happening is that there are very evil people, like James mentioned earlier, it's a battle between good and evil, who know full well what they're doing and what their plans are. They want to lock you up. They want to take away your rights. And they're lying about you on purpose, gleefully, willfully. And we're having a fairness battle.
I don't think that they're going to win. I'm actually quite hopeful. Everyone's cynical, and it pisses me off. I mean, I talk about this too in this book, a chapter called Propaganda. Consent must be informed, not manufactured. All serious theories of democracy were a republic, which is also a democracy, including the economic theory, hinge on the notion that voters have reliable access to information. I think technology allows us to do that. Again, let me remind your audience, I am banned on Twitter. My organization's banned on Twitter. And our story was the #1 trending story in the world. Why? Because of the information that we released. Documents inside the Department of Defense, DARPA, a Marine Corps major fellow at the Department of Defense, wrote about this COVID and wrote about the fact that it was too risky for the Department of Defense to approve what was going on. And that story, it was about the strength of the information. And I believe that human nature is such that if people are able to see it for themselves, first-hand participant journalism, not second-hand anonymous sources, I think we're going to prevent society's collapse by continuing to do that journalism. I
agree. I think it's working. I mentioned this with CNN and MSNBC having a ratings collapse. Getting back to the darkness of this, when we see this poll from Rasmussen, I do think it's fair to point out that maybe it's a bad poll from Rasmussen. Maybe the questions aren't right, but who knows? But I will say this: Kamala Harris was raising money through Twitter to bail out rioters. In 2020, some of the most extreme riots we've ever seen. When I talk to people, I can't remember.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, the Minneapolis bail fund, but right? Not only that, but I mean the riots were across the country. So when we're seeing some of the worst riots we've seen in 50 years, maybe, and I talk to people about the potential for civil conflict, civil unrest, or whatever, and they say, "Oh, it's not that bad." It's because we're frogs in a pot that are boiling.